After the last movie I covered featured Donald Pleasance, some people suggested that I check out The Pumaman. I've covered my fair share of bad superhero movies over the years, but I really don't think any of them were as weird as this. Hey guys, welcome back to the show, and I really have to thank those of you who recommended this movie to me, because watching this movie was quite the experience. It's the best way to put it. Now, apparently, the director of this movie was unhappy with the script, so he tried to save it by adding in some comedy, and I have to say, if this movie has one saving grace, it's that it is absolutely hilarious. So if you're really into bad movies and you haven't seen it yet, you owe it to yourself to check this one out. So basically, a long time ago, these aliens came down to Earth and dropped off this golden mask and fathered a godlike, man, and they called him the Pumaman. Anyways, now it's the present day, and we have Jane, who's inspecting the golden mask. But where was it found? And who found it? Who knows and who cares? That's not important. You know, like what? You want to see the extraction of an alien artifact? There's superhero stuff to get to. We don't need a well-rounded plot here. So Donald Pleasance plays Dr. Cobras, and he runs the League of Leathered Archaeologists, I guess, and Jane is reading the inscription on the mask, which says that anyone who desecrates the Puma God image will in turn be destroyed by the living Puma Man. And here's the thing, he doesn't want to desecrate anything. No, he just wants to use the golden mask to control people's minds. I mean, that's the kind of power it holds, so really, it would be a shame to not use it to its full potential. Really. So Jane is like, hey, I joined this club to meet other leather enthusiasts, not to hide great discoveries like this from the people. I'm telling. And Cobras is like, no, you won't, because your mind is mine now. And he looks at her through the mask, causing her to forget how to hold books, and a duplicate version of her head appears on the table. And he's like, the only person that can stop me now is the Puma Man. So we must find him and kill him. And you're probably wondering how they're gonna find the Puma Man. I mean, he could be anybody, anywhere. Well, it's quite simple, really. They're just going to start going around throwing people out of windows. See, now, if they hit the ground and die, they weren't the Puma Man. But if they fly away to safety, they are the Puma Man. And then they can just go kill him. It's basically foolproof. Pretty sure they did something similar back in the day during the Salem witch trials, and look how that worked out. Yeah, I don't see many witches walking around, do you? Anyways, it's a good thing there's always a photographer nearby to take pictures of these people being tossed to their death so that the news can report on it. Now we have Tony Farms, a paleontologist, going for a jog, when his friend is like, hey Tony, you better be careful. All these guys getting thrown out of windows are just like you. They're American, they're the sons of doctors, and their parents were all killed in plane crashes. You may be wondering how Cobras knows that the Puma Man possesses all these traits. Well, I don't know. It's never explained, along with several other things in this movie. But even if it was, you gotta wonder how they would even go about that search. Alright, in order to find the Puma Man, all we gotta do is look for men who are American. They are the sons of doctors, and both of their parents were killed in plane crashes. There's gotta be an easily accessible database for that somewhere. So Tony goes to work at the museum, and his boss is pissed off that he's getting changed out of his jogging clothes at work. And he's like, I'm really sorry. I understand this museum is not a gym. That's obvious. I mean, there's no lockers. I have to keep my gym clothes inside of these bones.
What's the matter? You feel sick? No. I get this way when I sense danger.
So his boss is like, yeah, you're in danger, all right. You're in danger of losing your job. And Tony just walks away. I mean, he doesn't have time to listen to his boss. There's danger nearby. So he's got to go and be super careful. I'm going to try that the next time I'm at a party and I'm in a conversation that I don't really want to be in. I'm just going to be like, sorry, there's danger nearby. I think that would be pretty effective. I think those people would be like, wow, this guy's weird, and they would actually find an excuse to leave you. Then, as Tony's working, he notices this strange guy in the room, and he's like, who the hell is that? And the guy is like, oh crap, he saw me. Okay, just act casual, pretend like you work here, look out the window, steal something. So Tony chases after him because you can't just have people walking in and stealing these bones. Tony was planning on using that as a shoehorn later. And like I said, Tony senses danger. And with all this stuff that's been going on lately with guys just like him being thrown out of windows, you're probably wondering why he's choosing to stand right in front of that open window. Look, Tony likes to live life on the edge. That's why he's a paleontologist. And maybe he's just curious to see what it feels like to be surprised by some attempted murder. And that's exactly what happens. The mysterious man throws him out the window, but he's totally fine. And then the dude starts chasing after him. It's almost as if he's serious about killing him, or at least delivering an important message.
You are the Puma Man.
And then he just disappears. And it's like, couldn't you have just knocked on the door and told him that? Why did you have to break the door down? Who's gonna pay for that? I'm assuming not you, but what if he's not the Puma Man? Don't you think it's possible he could have been a regular guy that just survived the fall? I mean, you know, what was that, 3 floors? Like, yeah, that's high, but I don't think it's crazy that someone survived that. If you saw somebody fall from that height, you wouldn't think, oh wow, they must be a superhero. So Tony comes inside, and this is when he meets Jane, and he starts joking around with her because that seems like the appropriate response to everything that just happened to him. And she's like, you don't know me, but I'd like to consult with you for a thesis I'm working on. You should come by my house tonight. My father is the Dutch ambassador. And he's like, well, of course. I'm on a roll today. First, I don't lose my job, then I don't break my legs, and now a pretty girl is inviting me over. I'm sure nothing bad will come of that. So that night, Tony is at home when suddenly the lights go out, but that's okay because he can see in the dark. You know, like a puma. And holy crap, the mystery man is in his house. How does he know where he lives? Who knows? Like I said, there's a lot of things that we're not going to get answers to, so get used to it. Anyways, he's like, my name is Vidinho, and your father used to protect my people. See, I have this photo of you and your parents. I'm the high priest of the temple of the god who came from another world. And yes, I could have just showed you this picture in the first place and asked if you were the kid in it, but I figured throwing you out of a window was the better way to confirm that.
It belonged to your father. With this, you will have all the powers he did. I will teach you to use them.
Pass. Yeah, that's right. I'm not wearing it.
Put it on.
No, I'm not putting it on. I am well aware of that belt, okay? My father used to wear it all the time. It was weird. Because when I say all the time, I mean all the time. My parents used to get in fights over that stupid belt. I remember my mother screaming at the top of her lungs in the middle of the night, I'm not gonna sleep in the same bed as a man who wants to wear that stupid belt and nothing else. It was very upsetting. So he's like, put on the belt. Don't you get it? If you don't put on the belt, you can't be a superhero. So come on, put it on. And Tony turns off the lights and uses his night vision to get away. Vidinho goes after him, leaving the belt on the ground. But then he gets into Tony's car and he's holding the belt, so okay. And I know what you're thinking. Dude, just take the belt to get him off your back, and then once he's gone, throw it in the trash. Well, keep in mind, this guy knows where Tony lives. So then every time this guy pops over for a surprise visit, Tony's gonna have to throw the belt on and start lying through his teeth. Like, oh yeah, the belt's been great, by the way. Yeah, no, I've been getting a lot of compliments on it. It's like when somebody gives you a gift that you really hate, and then every time they come over, you gotta be like, oh crap, where's that ugly thing that they gave me? I gotta put it out so that they see it and think that I like it. Also, keep in mind, he already threw him out of a window and broke a door to pieces just to tell him that he was the Puma Man. Imagine what he'll do if he finds out that Tony threw the belt in the garbage.
Look at my face. Do I look like the Puma Man to you?
You are the worst I've ever seen. But you are the Puma Man.
And I'm just wondering, what is he supposed to look like? I mean, is he supposed to have feline features, like a puma? I mean, superheroes don't have to look like the animals they're named after. That's why they have costumes. And I'm sure the costume in this movie will not disappoint. I'm lying. It's incredibly awful. So Tony's like, fine, I'll just drive recklessly. That will disorient him and then I can run away. Tony gets to the embassy and then Cobra shows up and they're like, damn it, this is a black tie affair. The invitation specifically said no flashy gold outfits. He does this every time. I guess Cobras is trying to control the minds of all the world leaders and he already controls a bunch of them. Again, I don't really get this, but when he looks at someone through the mask, it magically creates a replica of their head, which serves as like a direct line to their mind. And he's got a whole collection of these things. Anyways, he's like, okay, let's kill that Tony guy now. So the henchmen rush him. But here's where that paleontologist training comes in handy. Just look at them go. These guys are no match for Tony. Must be those lightning quick Puma reflexes. So he decides to keep going up every staircase he runs into because that's always the best way to escape a building. But suddenly he finds himself on the roof. Oh no, how did that happen? As luck would have it, Vidinho followed him to the embassy. So he throws the belt up to the roof and Tony is like, I told you, I don't want the belt. It just isn't my style, and it's totally gonna clash with this outfit. But Vidinho somehow manages to convince Tony to stop acting like a putz and put on the belt. And here we go, the moment you've all been waiting for. Tony puts on the belt and magically, he's now donning the iconic Pumaman costume, which consists of some khaki pants, a bedazzled long sleeve shirt, and kind of a mediocre cape, which gives him the ability to fly, you know, like a puma. The flying, however, is also very mediocre, and that's being extremely generous. I mean, just look at this. There is a ton of this throughout the movie. So Tony is like, hey, am I invincible now? And Vidinho is like, no. And Tony is like, well, screw this then. And Vidinho is like, dude, if you kill that douchebag and retrieve the golden mask, Jane's mind will be saved. So Tony reluctantly agrees and flies off, if you want to call it that. Then he grabs one of the henchmen and starts interrogating him. He even starts walking on air at one point. Finally, the guy tells him that the Cobra's hideout is in a mansion, because that really narrows it down. So in order to find the mask, he starts concentrating and is now able to transcend time and space. I don't know. Honestly, this movie is hilarious for many reasons, but one of them is that this is the most unconvincing superhero performance I think I've ever seen.
Help me, Father! Help me, Vidinho!
Anyways, he comes back from the nothingness. That's actually what it's called, by the way. And this is just hysterical. Vidinho is like, hey, did you find the mask? And Tony's like, nope. So then he gets the brilliant idea to just teleport into his buddy's truck, and his friend just instantly accepts it, not bothered at all by the fact that this guy just magically appeared right next to him. So Tony is like, hey, do you have a tracking device that you can lend me? And his friend is like, sure. So Tony gets out of the truck, his friend crashes, basically blames him for some reason, and Tony is like, yeah, see ya. There's so much stuff in this movie that you can't help but laugh at. Tony comes back to the place where Vidinho was. He walked there, by the way. Don't see why he couldn't just teleport back, but whatever. Vidinho has been beaten up and captured by the bad guys. How?
Don't come in, Tony! Run! Ah!
They didn't know where he was hiding, but who cares? Nah, we needed another scene where Vidinho teaches the Puma Man how to use his abilities, like disappearing and jumping around and tearing apart a car with his bare hands. Okay, that's actually the coolest thing in this entire movie. So after he beats up all the bad guys, they get out of there, and Vidinho takes out his necklace, which starts healing him right before Tony's eyes.
What are you doing? Trying to impress me? Okay, I'm impressed.
I think he's just trying to heal his wounds. I mean, if you had the ability, why wouldn't you do that? And why do you gotta be such a little bitch, Tony? Honestly, he's been acting like that the entire movie. Vidinho is the one who gave him that belt, basically had to force him to put it on. He taught him how to use all of his superpowers, and now he takes 15 seconds to heal his own wounds after he got beaten up because of this guy, and Tony's gonna be like, oh, wait, you're trying to impress me? I think that's actually my biggest issue with this movie, believe it or not. Tony sucks, plain and simple. And he doesn't change. He's like this throughout the movie. Suddenly he appears in Jane's car and he's like, hey, do you know where the mask is? And she's like, I wish I could tell you, but I can't. Cobras controls my mind. He makes me do all sorts of things that I don't want to do. Like wear this driving cap. I mean, come on, do I look like I want to wear this much leather all the time? So Tony puts the tracker in her car, which leads them to this massive house where Cobras tells Jane to kill the Puma Man, but she can't do it. And Tony tries to get Cobras, but he has some kind of a force field, and I don't know, he breaks through the wall and flies out of there, but Cobra starts trying to control his mind and takes away his powers. Believe it or not, there's still 30 minutes left in this stupid movie. This whole thing with the fake heads I find pretty confusing. They've got these wires coming out of the heads. Suddenly they're fractured and then they're not. He puts a needle in them for... I don't know what's going on with any of this shit. Cobras tells Tony to kill himself, and there are so many scenes in this movie where the writing and the acting are just downright hilarious, and Tony's suicide attempt is one of them.
You will be all right.
Only if I lose a habit.
Which one?
Wanting to live!
Okay, so Vidinho teaches Tony the superpower of slowing down his metabolism so that Cobras thinks that he's actually dead, and the henchmen just show up out of nowhere and they're like, yep, this guy's definitely dead. And Tony's like, holy crap, it actually worked. This is how he fooled the bad guys, with the power of playing dead. So Vidinho is like, okay, enough talk. I'm gonna take a bunch of dynamite to the mansion and just start blowing everything up. And surprise, surprise, Tony is like, no, I can't let you do that. And I'm telling you right now, this might be the funniest scene in the whole movie. I'm gonna try and show you the whole thing, but I might have to cut it up a bit.
Damned hardhead, stop giving orders. I won't let you go alone.
I ask you to forgive me.
Forgive you what?
Anyways, Vidinho goes in there and starts blowing stuff up. Jane smashes the fake head, so the Puma Man gets his powers back, and he starts jumping around and everyone is fighting. And if you aren't having the time of your life right now, something is definitely wrong with you. Tony figures out the best way to get around the force field is just to come up from under the ground and then dodge the golden mask. So now it's Tony versus the helicopter, and my god, this might be the funniest movie I've seen in ages. I mean, do I really have to say anything? Just look at this. At the end of the movie, the spaceship comes back to pick up Vidinho, and Tony and Jane jump into the sky, where we get this iconic line.
Never seen anybody make love in the air.
But that's how you make little Puma men.
I mean, you don't even know this person. Is that really something you want to commit to right now? Now, obviously, looking at the poster, there is some bending of the truth going on. This Puma Man looks much cooler than the one we actually got. Now, would I recommend this movie? If you are someone who is really into bad movies, I would absolutely recommend it, especially if you can get some friends together to watch it, because it is hilarious. It is so bad in all the best ways. I want to thank all of my supporters on Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, and my YouTube channel members. I want to thank all of you for tuning in, but that's pretty much it for this one, and I'll see you all next time. Okay, you want to know the real reason I don't want to wear that belt? I just think it's very ugly. All right, no offense to the aliens who created it. I'm sure that on their planet, it's probably very fashionable, but I mean, come on, does it have to be a belt? Can't it be something a little bit more understated? You know, like a sock, like a nice sock. I'll wear that. I'll wear a sock. And why did they pick a Puma? I don't know, maybe they just thought it sounded cool. Could have been a lot worse. They could have called him the Sea Cucumber Man or the Blobfish Man. Although I would want to see those movies.